Welcome to another segment of Lady Mogul Talk, and today we have the wonderful Ayanna Spivey, and I'm excited about today's conversation because she is an HBCU grad just like me, but there is one thing that I've loved particularly about Southern University, and we'll get into that later. I'll reveal why, but more about Ayanna. She had, as a young child, her leadership skills and creativity revealed themselves, and she was always involved in the church youth ministry, youth choir, youth council, and that even carried on to her university days where she was Miss Southern University. She was a part of the Student Government Association, Miss Sophomore, and just so many roles at Southern University. She also continued her post-secondary education with a Master's of Science in Higher Education in California, and she went on to start the We Are Educated LLC, which is an organization that strives to promote higher learning at HBCUs. And so we'll talk more about that. But welcome, Anna. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited. Now, let's dig into your experience at an HBCU. And as I mentioned earlier, there's one thing that I love about Southern, and I'm sorry, Clark Atlanta, you are my pride and joy. I still think it's the number one HBCU, no offense. But I can never get enough of the Southern University dancing dolls. They're just so graceful, the smoothness. I follow them on social media. So.
Oh my gosh, yes. Same. I mean, honestly, same. Wow. Okay, I wasn't prepared. I was like, what is it? But yeah, more than worthy. What's the question? Because now I got excited.
I know. I was like, that's just how it's just beautiful. Anyway, so your fondest memories of an HBCU and what motivated you to go to an HBCU?
So both my parents and my paternal grandmother went to Southern. I was actually born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, while both my parents were attending Southern. My mom was actually pregnant with me when she walked across the stage for undergrad. And then I got to see her walk across the stage for her master's, as well as my father getting his bachelor's in '96. So I was pretty much born into it. But when we moved to California, I left Louisiana when I was 4 and just left the South completely when I was 5. So growing up in California, we always made sure that we watched the Bayou Classic. And so every Thanksgiving Saturday weekend, my grandmother would ship us like all types of Southern gear and be in our living room cheering on the Jags like we was at the game. So over time, you mentioned the dolls, you mentioned the band. And so just growing up watching that every halftime, like my brother actually played the drums. So he would have his drum pad in front of the TV when it was halftime. And I would just be trying to dance and stuff. So from then on, like I always grew up saying, I'm going to go to Southern. I'm going to be a doll. My brother's going to be on the drum line. It was set in our mind until I was about 16 and realized I had no dance experience. So I was like, oh, got to try something else. But upon my senior year, just being active in high school and going on different college tours, and then some exposure to other HBCUs from the few HBCU grads at my high school, I was just exposed to different schools. I was like, okay, maybe Southern isn't, my only option. So I applied to about 11 schools. 7 or 8 of those were all HBCUs. And so when the time came, my mom was like, you know what? We're going to Bayou Classic. So my senior year, 2009, I'll never forget it. My mom was like, all right, we're going to spend Thanksgiving with your grandmother. And then we going to New Orleans the whole weekend. And that sold me. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. Like just seeing the band in person is a totally different experience than seeing it, on TV. That's because we only get to experience the game. So, Friday you have the Battle of the Bands, you have the Greek show, and then Saturday you have, of course, the game, but there's also like a concert before then. And so it's just so much going on that weekend. And so being able to see that live and live in color, I was like, say less. I'm going to Southern. So by then, that spring, I ended up turning down a scholarship to Tuskegee. I revoked my intention to enroll at one of the state schools in Northern California. And 2 days, literally 2 days after my 18th birthday, I was in Louisiana.
Wow. Now tell me about the year of your reign, because when you said that you graduated in 2009 from high school, correct?
In 2010, I went to Bayou Classic in 2009.
2010. Okay, so I was about to say, so we might have just missed each other by a year, because I was going to say, if that was the timing, I was on Royal Court for my senior year, and then, of course, we all had that HBCU Kings and Queens conference, so we missed each other by a year. That's still crazy.
We never actually, Southern wasn't going to any of those conferences. So
really?
the year I was Miss Southern, that was the first time we went back to NASAP. And that was like in 10 years. And then I want to say maybe 4 or 5 queens after me, I believe they finally attended the Kings and Queens. And I was like, dang, I wish I would have known. But I think it's the timing of the conference, along with even the Miss HBCU. I think it like timing is the games and like what we have scheduled, which is why we've never been able to attend that particular conference or the Miss HBCU pageant.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope that has changed since that time.
Yeah.
Now, I want to transition just a little bit, because it was so apparent throughout your bio that education is ingrained in your purpose. And I would just love for you to share with the audience what drew you to this field over other industries.
Honestly, experiences overall. And I think my grandmother had a lot to do with it. Because my mom, she was a first generation college student. So, of course, she went to get her master's. Like in her family, that was unheard of. But with my grandmother, it was literally like, how are you doing school? Like, if you're graduating, she'll be there with bells on. But even like during undergrad, nobody really saw my grandmother. So like when I crossed both of the coronations, my grandmother was not there, but she would always show up like every other weekend, bringing me quarters and things. But my graduation, she was there on time. And literally, I walked across the stage. She was like, all right, bye. Like, that's how she was. And even when I was running, she was like, I'm not going to that. You were here to get your lesson. Like, that's what you're here for. So I think a part of that assisted in it, but also just the experiences of doing the freshman new student orientations, being Miss Southern and kind of having that aspect of recruiting and just kind of giving back in that way. I want to say it was maybe my like senior year. I realized I was like, oh, this is a job. Like you can go to school for this. Because I originally started in the social work program. And so I was like, all I knew was I just wanted to serve somehow. In what capacity, I wasn't sure, but social work made sense. So that's where I started. And then under some different circumstances, I ended up moving back to California after graduation. And I only had enough money at the time to apply for one grad school. And so it was Cal Baptist. They had a program. I was like, this makes sense. I'm like, student development, higher ed. It makes sense. I got in, and the rest was kind of history because I had to do internships at the community college and then learning about outside of kind of the student services aspects and admissions, which is what I primarily did in undergrad. I, learned about academic support and actually working in these areas and all of that. And then like even just hearing my grandmother back in my mind, like, okay, when is your graduation? And, you're I can't wait for Dr. Spivey loading. And so that was kind of that background noise. And then unfortunately, she passed 3 months before my grad school graduation. Oh, wow. So it's a little bit of everything, I guess. But yeah, specifically her, because she kind of set the standard. Like if it wasn't for her, my mother wouldn't have probably had the opportunity to go to Southern. So yeah, I give that all to Benny Ruth Spivey.
And I know she's so proud of you. And then you could just continue to be a living legacy of just those who have gone on before you. And then also you started your own initiative in 2016, the We Are Educated organization. So tell us about this initiative. And I've seen some, looking at your bio, just some of the great things you've done so far.
So it started kind of just out of frustration in a sense. You know, just going to HBCUs, we always have that conversation or dialogue, and most times arguments between the HBCUs versus PWI conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all of these myths about, you know, our education is less than our when it comes to hiring us, because we're HBCU graduates, we have, you know, lesser opportunities. And it was just like, but like, we're literally educated. Like, there's no real, as far as the classroom goes, there's nothing that truly makes a difference in our education. And it's what happens outside of that classroom and those experiences. So that's kind of where I got the name from. But I was also an out-of-state student. And one of the biggest things while I was Miss Southern was really trying to get more out-of-state students to come to Southern. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, more students, more money. That makes sense to me. So from there, I was just like, okay, how can I raise money? And I was like, okay, well, let's start with t-shirts, because I saw how HBCU Pride Nation and Travis were doing. I was like, okay, well, people love shirts. Everybody that go to HBCU know they love shirts. So, okay, let's start there just to raise money. And so the first scholarship that I gave out was $750. Wow. And it was out of my pocket. And I just went from there, and just on social media, I wanted to also highlight the culture, of course. So like the Royal Courts, the SGA, leadership, the different things that are going on overall, like homecomings, the band, different events, alumni, and also wanting to highlight just businesses. And so I started like HBCU Business Wednesday, where I just highlight different HBCU alumni, students, teachers, or whoever who have their own business or are making strides in their own industries. And so that kind of took off. It became a really big thing. Unfortunately, I went on hiatus just because some life things were going on. And so I'm going to relaunch and officially be a nonprofit this summer. So be prepared for that.
Yes.
So yeah,
big things happen. Now, I saw that you were going through a rebranding process, and I know that just takes a lot of work. So I'm just going to make this a more business question. What advice would you have for those who are wanting to rebrand and they just don't know where to start?
I feel like I'm in that place. But honestly, just bet on yourself. That was one of the things that like my friends were telling me as I was just getting frustrated of just how, you know, to go about this and just really the legal aspect of it all. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just get on YouTube, I'm gonna Google and do what I can, but really just bet on yourself and be confident in your vision. And so making sure that your vision is clear, your vision is also, you have a way that it is conveyed. And that your intention is understood as well. So that's really all I have right now. I'm still learning myself, to be honest, but really just making sure that your vision is clear. I've realized in all of these interviews, I just live my life like, okay, here's my goal. How I get there, I have no idea, but make sure that like I know where I'm trying to go. So,
No, that was great advice, because the number one thing that you said there was to have a vision and to bet on yourself. Sometimes we're scared to even just do that. And that's basically just where anything starts. It just starts with one step. So no, that was great advice right there. And we wish you the best of luck with this rebranding. Like I said, I know it's quite a process, but you will get there. Now, transitioning just a little bit, we are so excited to partner with the HBCU Experience Movement. And of course, you recently collaborated on a book about Southern University. So tell us, what was that experience like writing this book, and what can we expect from your section?
It was difficult. It was really difficult. I don't know if others are like me, but I hate writing about myself. Like, it is so hard to do. Like, even when I was Miss Southern, I had to like submit all of these bios. I was like, Mom, can you write about me, please? Like, if anybody's gonna do it, I feel like your parent would. So, so that was a bit of a struggle. But when it all finally came together, the thing that just kept coming back was just alignment. Because like I said, when I started at Southern, like I I was I had all these intentions to go to different other schools, and I was prepared to do that. And so after Bayou Classic, I was like, oh no, like this is what I have to do. But when I got to Southern, all I wanted to do in any college, really, I made sure every college I applied to had a Delta chapter, and I knew I was going to graduate because that's what I was supposed to do. Everything else in between that and after that, I had no plan. I was really just open to whatever came my way. So speaking a little bit about that and just finding my tribe, touched a little bit on that. It's really hard to, one, write about myself, but two, put those 4.5 years into like just one chapter because it was so much that happened. But yeah, mostly just speaking on alignment and driving the point that I could have became a Delta and graduated from anywhere, but it would not have been as fulfilling, impactful, and life-changing as it was at Southern or anywhere else, to be honest. So yeah.
And we are so excited about that. It's going to actually be released this June on Amazon. Please be sure audience to support this amazing initiative. Now, I would just love to know, because we all have gone through challenges in different ways. If you had to give yourself, your earlier version of yourself, advice, what would you tell her?
Don't drop that class. Do not drop that class. I dropped my second semester at Southern, the spring semester of my freshman year. I dropped my biology class because I thought I was failing. I was not failing. Like I had like a low B, and I thought I was failing, and so what ended up happening, I had to retake that class 3 more times. Yeah, I had to retake it 3 more times, and what ended up happening is it put me behind in credits. So when it came time the summer before I was going to run from Miss Southern, I was like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be like a junior technically. So I'm like, okay, let me go to summer school, bang this out, and get it done. So I really think like my struggles, and it wasn't much of a struggle, but like my complications with academics started with dropping that class. Like I should have never dropped that class, but
oh no. This is a lesson in life. Just to be persistent, and no matter what, we can turn it around. But it didn't impact you too badly, because you still accomplished great things, and you got what you saw. So
yes, exactly.
We're happy about that. Now, I love to always know what is next for you. You've already done so many amazing things, but I know you have something cooking next. So what can you share with us?
What I will share is, of course, the relaunch of We Are Educated. But there's so many things I want to do, honestly. Like, I think I want to kind of expand on Ayanna as a brand. What that looks like, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I have so many things like in my mind. Nothing concrete just yet. But that Ayanna Celeste as a brand, and looking to go back to grad school. I definitely want to pursue a PhD and knock that out before I get really tired of school.
I understand that completely. I was like, let me go, because I had a fear like once I took a break, I wouldn't go back to school, and I did, and I knocked it out. But after that, I'm like, I'm done. Thank you, God.
And by no means, like I tell my students all the time, I'm like, if school is not for you, don't force that. Like there are other opportunities. Go get a trade. Like college is not for everybody, and I wish that us as a generation wasn't, kind of forced into that pathway in a sense. Because like starting in middle school, they're like, you're gonna need to go to college. This is what you need to do. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like, you can make really good money with a trade. You can make really good money being an entrepreneur, like, or going to work right after high school. Like, there's so many different pathways. So, because I feel like a lot of people learn that at college too. Like, I know a lot of people that started with me and they were like, yeah, nah, this isn't for me, and went out to do great things. So you can learn that in college, but I mean, it's much cheaper to learn that a little earlier.
This is very true. Even though I wouldn't trade my education for the world, but this is very true. There are other ways to learn.
It is a fulfilling experience. One thing about college and just HBCUs in general, like regardless of how it ends for you, how it starts for you, you are truly going to learn about yourself. You're going to learn about your just overall potential. You're going to gain a network that is bananas. Like there is so many different opportunities that comes from going to college. But if you think about it, like graduating from college was not a thing when colleges started. Everybody was like, oh, I attended Harvard or I attended. Nobody was saying that they graduated. Like it was an experience. And so, yeah.
No, that's true. That's why I love like HBCUs, no matter who I speak with, whether they attend Southern or A&T, just different places, we all have a similar experience where we just feel like it's family and just the culture and everything. It's just, I don't know, it's something about it. No offense to PWIs. That was my second degree, but
I mean, I feel like, did we all not start from PWIs? Our K through 12 was PWI. Like,
that's the point. That's the whole word right there.
So, but yeah, no, I feel like we all have this same understanding. Like,
yes,
it's been so, like, when I moved back to California, I started like a HBCU group me that is still going. And I met so many dope people that were just living in LA, trying to figure it out. And that network helped so many people. And like just finding friends, and you had that common, experience that, okay, we went to HBCUs, like, and then you get to have that friendly rivalry, like, is your homecoming that fun, or all of that. So,
but don't talk about any. You can't talk about us if you're outside of the family, though. We can talk about each other.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, this has been such a wonderful conversation, but I want to make sure that we plug in your organization and anything that you would like to share with us. So how can we keep up with you in your upcoming projects?
You can keep up with me by following me on Instagram at Ayanna Spivey on Facebook. We Are Educated Incorporated. It just changed. So We Are Educated Inc. on Instagram. And then We Are Educated Inc. I got to change that one too on Facebook. And then that's about it. Yeah, those are all my handles.
Well, please be sure to follow Ayanna. And are there any last words that you would like to share with our audience, whether it's encouragement or just a friendly goodbye?
Encouragement would be keep going, regardless of whatever obstacles come your way. You have literally conquered every bad day. So continue to move forward. If it may be, in your bad spot, just mentally or whatever, as long as you keep pushing, you're going to make it to your destination. And choose HBCUs if you must choose anything.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there. Well, thank you so much, Ayanna, for joining us for another edition of Lady Mogul Talk. And we will see you next week for another edition. Bye, Lady Moguls.